Hey, it's Snorgle. Welcome back to Minecraft, where I just explore Minecraft, all the different areas, and I also explore different topics. And so we're going to do a topic today, and that's about embracing change. And I've talked about this before, but I haven't really talked, I don't think, as in depth I would like to, because one of the things I want to talk about a little bit, I've mentioned this before, but I want to get more into it, is neuroplasticity. And the idea is that when you learn new things, that your brain grows new cells. And they've done a ton of research. It's really fascinating. Your brain grows new cells, and this happens. Originally, it's so funny. Originally, they thought, "Ooh, sorry, we see a cherry orchard. We have to stop because this is." I love the colors of cherry orchard. Pink is such a great color. Okay, so one of the ideas is that as you grow, as you learn new things, your brain has to map out those new things you're learning. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular. It can be learning a new hobby. We'll get into what this means in a bit, but your brain has to grow new connections. It's new cells. And so the way this was explained to me, I have a friend who's a scientist, and he's not a neurologist, but he's a scientist. And he's a biologist, so he understands this crap a lot more than I do. And one of the things he said was, he said, think of it this way. Thank you. He said, think of it this way. Let's see, put this up here. Oh yeah, I got to put my clothes back on. I apologize for being naked. I wasn't naked, but anyway, the idea is that when you learn something new, it grows new brain cells. But where it stores that knowledge is different than where it retrieves it. And so, it stores it maybe in the back of the brain. This is not, he used actual brain words, and that's not me, but it stores it in the back of the brain, and the front of your brain needs to retrieve it. So the way he explains it to me is it's like it builds a road. It builds a road between these two things because it's determined that this is where it's stored and this is where you get it, and you need to go pick it up there, right? So, but he said, the thing that's interesting about this is that so you have these two parts, and then your brain grows some cells to create the connection between them for the neurons to connect to each other. And that's a good thing, because that means that your brain is growing and it's becoming more wrinkly and you're becoming smarter and healthier and a better person. But there's some unintended consequences that happens that I think is really fascinating. And I've personally experienced this. And so it doesn't just have to be, it can be learning anything. It can be learning how to cook. Anything you use your brain for, which, let's be honest, is everything. You learn anything new. Even a sport, some sports ball thing, and exercise, anything new that you learn how to do. Your brain is responsible for executing it, right? Makes sense, So they used to think, oh, hey, abandoned whatever, not abandoned, abandoned, a broken portal, abandoned portal. I don't know. I'm not a Minecraftologist, despite having played it for slightly over a year and a half. Okay, let's, what do we got here? Anything good? How am I doing on silver? I'm fine. I don't think I need any of this. I'll take the obsidian. Okay. I can't do anything down there. Okay, well, that's fine. So everything that you learn, everything that you need to learn how to do, your brain creates new pathways for it to learn, right? For it to store this knowledge and for it to retrieve the knowledge. And the way my friends played it is, the more you use this pathway in particular, right? The bigger it grows. So if you're thinking of it as a road, this is his analogy, not mine. If you're thinking of a road, it maybe starts off as a nicely, a nice dirt road. If the more you keep using it, it turns into a paved road, then it turns into a 2-lane highway, and then it turns to a massive interstate. Like it's. But the thing that's a fascinating thing to me is, as this was explaining, is that it's not just the two ends that are affected. There's positive effects of every single bit of brain that road touches has a positive effect. So think about that. You have these two things and you have this pathway going through your brain, and you learn something new, and you not only get the positive aspect of that knowledge being put into your brain, and your brain getting more wrinkly, big brain stuff, right? You're not only that, but you also get bonk. But other parts of your brain that have nothing to do with it. Different other pathways, different places where they're stored, whoa, that was stupid. Different places where different things are stored, right? Different knowledge is stored, can we get this out of here? This is bugging me. Where different knowledge is stored and where there's different things are retrieved, and all of that is positively affected as well. So the more you learn, not only do you have the practicality of being more knowledgeable, which is very, very good, but it's also affecting other parts of your brain that have nothing to do with it in a very positive way. It's making them stronger as well. Now that's interesting, isn't it? But how does this mean? I mean, what does this mean from a practical standpoint, right? But I think there's a bunch of different ways you can approach this, and it's sort of a lifestyle. And one of the things is, so part of my job is just understanding human behavior, understanding how people do stuff and why they do it, and trying to make people's lives better to a number of different ways. And see, I don't want that. Hold on, stupid thing. Let me get rid of it. I don't need these. Back up. And I certainly don't need this. Okay. So, one of the ways that you can do it really easily is just accepting change. Most people don't like change. Most people even, I think even if they realize that whatever thing they think is the standard for them and the thing they do, even if they know it's profoundly broken, most people prefer, that looks like a structure down there, doesn't it? Well, there's another thing. I'm not going to go down there, but there's one. I wonder what that is. Anyway. So people prefer the sort of evil that they know in general, right? So if you have this is a great example, is that people use a particular software application, a word processing application or something, and sometimes there'll be major interface changes, like huge interface changes. Most of the time, if you allow people to not use the new interface, to use the old interface, they'll keep using the old interface, so they have to use the new one. But here's what I would argue, and hear me out here. I encourage you to embrace the change, to use the new user interface. Anytime anything changes, embrace it. Because if things aren't changing, they're dying. That's just the way it goes. That's the way it goes here on Earth. If things aren't changing, they're dying. Or at least atrophying, So embrace the change, accept it, embrace it, and soon it's not scary. And I get why people don't like change, because change is scary. You don't know what it is, it's unknown, but let's be honest. Life is pretty unknown, and it contains a lot of unknowns. And the one thing that's sure, not just death and taxes, but the one thing that's kind of sure about life is everything changes all the time. So if you embrace it, you're helping your brain out an enormous amount. And even just learning small new skills, Learn how to knit. Make a nice sweater, Learn how to cook. Get a cheap chef knife from like a cheap 8-inch chef knife from Amazon. It doesn't have to be expensive. Buy a 5-pound bag of carrots and just, watch some YouTube videos on how to properly dice and cut and practice. That's a skill, by the way. I'm just going to put this out here. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Knowing how to cook, not great, just knowing how to be a decent cook and cook meals for yourself is something everybody should know how to do. And maybe it's a cultural thing. In the U.S., there's a lot of guys who don't know how to cook. There's a lot of guys who are good cooks too, but there's a lot of people who don't know how to cook properly. And I mean, like I mentioned before, we'll get back to talking neuroplasticity in a second, but like when I was a professional musician, sometimes places, the bars or the restaurants where you're working doesn't pay you, or things, it's just, you get taken advantage of. That's just the way it is. And you're struggling to make it through. You don't make a lot of money as a professional musician. And most don't, most professional musicians are not Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift. So sometimes they don't pay you and they can't pay you for a week. And I've had times where I had less than $10 to live for a week. And because I know how to cook, I knew that for $5 to $7, depending, that I could make a giant pot. I mean, a giant pot, really big, a huge pot. I used to cook it in those, have you seen those canning pots? Go take a look. The pots they use pans are gigantic. They couple it. I don't know how many gallons it is, but it's a lot. It's bigger than most normal pots. I went to Goodwill and bought one of those one time, and I would just cook like 5 pounds of rice and a couple of pounds of beans, and if I could find some kind of meat, maybe bacon or something, some kind of cheap meat that was on sale, maybe it was about to expire in a day, get that, a couple of carrots, maybe an onion, and I would have healthy meals for me for the week. And look, I eat rice and beans every single meal, but I was satiated and I was thankful to have food. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. If I didn't have those skills, I wouldn't be able to do that. But let's get back to neuroplasticity. They're not just like life-based skills and accepting change. But I do think that change is one of those things that you should try to embrace, because it's helping you and your brain an enormous amount, And it's one of those things you can't stop. Everything changes. And I also think sometimes that's why, like, you look at some older people and they don't want to accept that things have changed. And whether that's from a techno standpoint or a societal standpoint, a spiritual standpoint, they just don't want to accept it. And I think that you end up not feeding your brain what it wants to do, because your brain wants to build those pathways. It's good for you, it's healthy for you. Learning new things is important. So I just feel like as a person, if I can just accept change, any change that comes, I'll just accept it. There's something that happened recently that kind of upset me, because I couldn't accept the change because it would just negatively impact me. And that's where I work. I use a Mac. I'm not really a Mac guy, but I have to use one for work because that's what they use. And I'm going to go over here because I like this a little bit better. And there was a new version of Outlook. And so I don't use any Microsoft products except for Windows on my personal computers, but at work I have to use Outlook. And so, and so they had a new UI change. I was like, oh, great, that's exciting, new UI change. And I had to revert back to the previous version. I'll tell you why. Because, when you make an appointment in Outlook, you're scheduling a meeting or something. The old version, it would give you the schedule and it'd give you the people involved in the meeting. You'd look down to the schedule. I, for the life of me, could not figure out how to do that in the new version. It didn't show anything. It just sort of told me people were available or not. I couldn't look and see for myself. And that's just garbage. That's just a bad decision from Microsoft. Imagine. But that aside, I mean, so obviously there are changes, there are things make that, but things like I look at things and I think it'd be really fun to be able to do this. One of the things I want to do, this is not that popular anymore, but I do skateboarding. I try to learn new tricks all the time, and okay, and one of the things I noticed that I had a friend of mine who's a skateboarder, and he's recently gotten into slacklining, and it looks really cool. And it was popular for a hot minute, and it's not that popular anymore, but it looks really fun. And so I'm going to start learning slacklining coming in the fall. It's way too hot here to do that kind of thing outside, but fall will be perfect for where I live. So I'm going to start learning slacklining, which I'm really excited about. So it can even be something like that. It's anything new you learn. And so if you're going to school, that's great too, because you're automatically learning new things, kind of by definition, right? Which is great because it's super good for your brain. You're having a big brain moment and you didn't even realize it. So how do you accept the scary, right? How do you accept something that because I think that, as a species, not accepting change, I think is pretty common. And I think part of that is just maybe built into us, because there's certain things we do that have helped us succeed as a species, right? And I think part of that is like not embracing change, Stop. Get out of here. What are you doing? You two, knock it off. What are you doing? You. Stop. Okay, let's go. But I think no, is that I thought that was a village, but it's not. I kind of wonder if not embracing change is one of those things that helps us survive as a species, right? We know what we know. We can do what we're comfortable with. Because, if you're getting into something new, there's danger, right? I mean, there's potential danger. And I'm not saying everything is dangerous. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, there's a village. Okay. I'm just saying that, like, if you are looking at new stuff, you're learning something new, there's a danger. If you're looking at growing a new food crop, there's a danger that you don't know what it does, and it could make you sick. It could make your fellow villagers sick. Or if you don't cook food properly, it could make you sick. Or if you're exploring a new area, you could run across some dangerous thing. If you're like, there's a bunch of stuff that could be potentially life-threatening. And so if it's more comfortable for you as a species to not take risks, I should keep that open so I know I went there. That makes sense to me, right? That completely makes sense to me. That the people who didn't take risks were the people who were the type of humans who survived more. That makes sense. You know what? Yeah, it's fine. Do you want to get rid of this? But that's not the world we live in now. And I'm not saying that you need to go, climb a mountain or anything, but even just some of the most mundane stuff, just learn some new stuff. Learn a new language. No. I said learn a new skill. All kinds of stuff you can learn. What are you doing? Why are you standing on this dude's bed? Dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're a weirdo. Honestly. Ooh. I'll take these. Okay. I don't know why I need them, but I'm not really doing any trading. I don't think I've ever traded with a villager. I'll be honest with you. Wrong way. This way? Yes. So I live my life trying to embrace change, trying to accept it and embrace it. And at this point, it just doesn't bug me. Change comes along, I change, it's fine. Things like, I've mentioned this before, I think that everybody, if you can swing it, should travel when you're young. Because I know so many people who are like, in their 20s, and it's like, oh, I'll travel when I'm retired. You're going to wait 40 years? Like, dude, just travel now. You're working, I'm working remotely, and it's like, oh, I just couldn't do it. Dude, you can. You can do it. Trust me. You can do it. Were we just here? Well, I was headed the wrong direction for a bunch. I think I was. I'm stupid. Yep, that's fine. Anyway. And the more you embrace change, the more you kind of realize that it's not a big deal. It's really not. And some things you can't, what was that? Oh, just grass. I wasn't expecting to find that in there. Some things are not a big deal, you know. You need to change your brand of socks. That's not really probably something that contributes an enormous amount of neuroplasticity, I'll be honest with you. But I mean, things like learning a new application, you know, learning how things work. I think that I'm not one of those people who thinks that everybody should program, because I don't think that's the case. But I think it would be good for most people to learn some basic programming languages, just for their own well-being. Same with like creative. I think everybody should do some creative things too. Whoops, jumped right off it. Yeah, you don't have to be the best artist in the world to just start, sketching some stuff down. But the other thing too is that for a lot of that stuff, learning those types of things can involve something kinetic, your muscle memory, and muscle memory contributes to neuroplasticity as well. So, when you think about when you're a musician, for example, you have to practice your chops. Like if you're a professional musician, you have to practice your chops. You have to practice them for hours a day to keep them up, because that's the way it goes. That's your job. Your job is practicing. And the stuff I'm really good at, I enjoy the mundane parts of it, right? When I started playing piano when I was a little kid, long before I was professional, I even think that that's, I was thinking about that. I enjoyed practicing the scales. I enjoyed practicing like chord inversions. I enjoyed everything about it. I just absolutely enjoyed practicing all the mundane parts. The same with cooking. Like when I learned how to cook, I came to enjoy, because I didn't start off enjoying this. Like I came really to enjoy the prep work in cooking, because I spent hours and hours and hours, years having pretty good knife skills. And I still do to this day. I remember when I was in college, and a local grocery store would have like once every 6 months, once every quarter maybe, they would have chickens on sale, whole chickens. And they were terrible. I mean, they were low quality. I don't want to say garbage chickens because that's not fair, but they were very low quality and not the highest quality chicken, but they'd have on sale really cheap. And so I'd buy a ton of them for like $25. And how am I doing on? Oh, I'm doing fine on wool. You're lucky. I'd buy just a ton of them for like $25, and I'd practice boning a chicken. And I can still, to this day, I'm not as practiced as I was, but those skills, when they get imprinted in your brain, they kind of stay there, And so like I can still bone a whole chicken in like 2.5 minutes. I used to, when I did it all the time, I used to be able to do it in like about a minute and a half. But I can still do it in about 2.5 minutes, easy peasy. No problems, super easy, got it down. That's the kind of thing I think is always so interesting to me. And people say, if you know how to ride a bike, you'll never forget. And I'll admit this. When I was in high school, I had a guilty secret pleasure that I didn't let my friends know about. And that was riding a unicycle. I really enjoyed riding a unicycle when I was in high school. And I just was embarrassed because I thought all my friends would call me a dork, and they probably would have. I'll be honest with you, they definitely would have. But I recently got the opportunity to ride a unicycle again. I was like, I wonder if I can still do it. And I just immediately picked it up. Immediately. The skill did not go away. It took me a little bit to get a little comfortable. I was like, oh, wow, I still have this skill. This is recently. It's in the last 3 months. I was over at a friend's house. And I was like, where'd you get this? And they're like, oh, it's my, what was it, with their brothers or something who left it? I don't remember. Anyway, I just got on it and was able to do it. My friend was like, what the splurp? How'd you learn that? It's like, I used to do it in high school, I used to do it in high school. So funny. And I predicted that quite a bit. I would make sure I wasn't riding any place where anybody would see me. So stupid, isn't it? Because now I'd be like, I don't care. I think I'm a dork. I am. So funny. So funny. And I also, there's other things like, so I was talking to somebody about being ambidextrous, and I'm actually fairly ambidextrous. And they were mentioning like, oh, geez, I wish I was. I said, you can make yourself ambidextrous. And like, no. I said, look, you can't. You can. Some people have a more proclivity for it, a natural tendency to be able to do that. But you can absolutely make yourself ambidextrous by just doing everything with your non-dominant hand and your non-dominant leg. That's the thing you do. Like if you're practicing something like piano or drums, and you need to have a really ambidextrous sort of thought. You can do that. And the thing that's interesting about that is I went to a neurologist once, and they took an MRI. And the neurologist said to me, before I said anything, I didn't know what I wrote. They were like, what instrument do you play? I was like, how do you know that? He was like, oh, musicians' brains are different. They're different. I was like, what do you mean? He said, what do you play? I said, piano. He said, yeah, I kind of figured. I was like, why? He said, well, because there's significantly more pathways between the left side of your brain and the right side of your brain than a normal person. And part of that is just forcing yourself to be ambidextrous. So one of the things you do is like eat with your non-dominant hand. If you're right-handed, eat with your left hand. And when you're taking a shower, turn the knobs on with your left hand. And just do everything with your non-dominant hand. If you're left-handed, do it with your right hand. And pretty soon, part of it isn't just muscles, part of it's your brain. And pretty soon your brain figures it out and starts to do it. And I'm not saying that you can be perfect, but it reminds me like this skaters like P-Rod, for example, Paul Rodriguez, who is, how do I say this? I don't want to get too much into the weeds in skateboarding, but there's natural stance, which is just whichever, it's not goofy or regular, just whatever your natural stance is, right? Whatever foot you put on the board, that's your natural stance. And switch is putting the opposite board. So like if you're regular, you would put your non-dominant foot on the skateboard and you would push with your dominant foot. Or the other way around. And goofy's flip side from that. You put your dominant foot on the thing and you push with your non-dominant. I'm goofy, by the way. And switch is doing it the opposite. So me, if I'm goofy, normally I put my dominant foot on the board and I kick with my non-dominant. Switch for me would be my non-dominant on the board and kick with my dominant. And Paul Rodriguez is so great, and he's so kind of ambidextrous. He doesn't really have switch. He just has two natural things, because every single trick he's got in switch is just as good as regular, which is unusual. It's unusual, mind you. But he's also one of the best skaters in the world. So anyway, but you can get to be that way too. You don't have to be an elite skateboarder. Just practice. Just force yourself to do it. Force yourself to start doing it with your non-dominant hand. And pretty soon, like for me, there was always big breakthroughs. Like you kind of beat your head against the wall a little bit here and there, and then there's a big breakthrough. It's like suddenly something clicks and you just start doing it. And that thing that clicked is that pathway in your brain getting built. Your brain figured it out, built the pathway, and now it knows what you're doing and how to do it. Oh, that's a death trap. Can we get around this thing? Get around this. So, and that's an easy one that everybody can do. It's frustrating at first. I will agree with that. It can be frustrating at first because you're not used to it. You're not doing stuff as fast as you normally do. But all of that changes relatively quickly. Relatively quickly being a relative term, of course. And that's one I think that most people could do. Most people would benefit from. I think most people would benefit from. Like for me, when I shave, the right side of my face, I shave with my right hand. The left side of my face, I shave with my left hand. And they're both, I get just as good of a shave. Same with, I shave my head, of course, too, same way. Most people don't do that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ooh, that is a big, big drop. We can go over here, I guess, and go around. Can we? Yeah, we can. And so that's a really easy way to start. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, maybe I should embrace change. Maybe I should learn some new things. I just highly recommend starting off just make yourself ambidextrous. And again, I'm not saying that, I mean, part of the problem with being ambidextrous like that is there's the people who were lefties who were forced to do right-handed, but that's I don't quite think it's the same thing, because you're not rewiring. I mean, you're rewiring your brain to a certain degree, but that's one specific skill, and that's the problem, right? Is that quite a lot of lava in this strip. But that's, I mean, a little bit of the problem, right? Because you're not doing everything else you could. You're just doing this one thing. So it's kind of isolated. And I feel like that if you did everything, that you would, again, I still have, my right hand is still my dominant hand, for sure. But I am pretty ambidextrous in general. More than most people. And it's 100% because of my music training. 100%. Maybe we'll set a bed here, but we'll try to get, a little higher up here. Oh, yeah. I was going to go in there but this is a little bit nicer over here, I think. Yeah. So, my advice to you is embrace change, learn new things, and instill in yourself a sense of wanting to constantly learn new things. Because your brain will thank you for it. I think that is a pretty good place to end this video. Thank you so much for watching me explore Minecraft and explore different topics. Today, we talked about neuroplasticity and change and learning new things, and hopefully you find it valuable. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time for more exploring Minecraft. I'll see you next time.